Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. With the Ethereum and Bitcoin ETF approved, this is going to be seeing more upside potential into this cycle for altcoins than ever before. The only cycle we can compare is 2017, which was by far our biggest profit cycle for the altcoins, and I firmly believe that this is going to be the first cycle that is actually bigger. With the ETF approvals, we're going to see billions of dollars of new volume coming into the markets like never before, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys all of the top charts in today's market cycle because I think that all of these are showing that we are just moments away before the biggest profit of our entire bull run. Guys, if you find value, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And if you do want to see how I'm investing my portfolio long term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Right off the bat, guys, as we're jumping into the price of Bitcoin, I wanted to zoom out and I want to talk a little bit about, once again, this prior all-time high level, because in the same ways that I've been updating you guys with it being an importance that we need to be paying attention to, we are once again closing below it. Now, if you guys know, I've been talking about this level extensively. We've reacted to this level, 50 different times it feels like inside of this consolidation. Resistance, support, but we won't get above it. The price is failing to break above it every single time we try. No matter what we do, the price is constantly rejecting and we're getting closes below this level. So as it stands in the shorter time frames, this is bearish. If we're not going to be holding the breakout, what's to assume that we're just going to instantly teleport into new all-time highs? We're just simply not going to. We have had a million different attempts at breaking out of this level. We are still closing below that level. We're just going to be going through a couple more weeks of chop at the very minimum. When I look at this cycle, we broke out of our inverse head and shoulder. We hit the target up in here. That was close enough. Now, I was expecting that we were going to end up holding support up in here, but now that we're seeing this pullback, we need to be targeting the potential of one more lower low in here. Now, when I'm looking at this, I think that we're going to be going to the minimum of about 64,000, fairly close to this prior resistance level that we just broke from, being this neckline, before we could see, another attempt at getting above this level. However, if we're going to be looking at the price coming back down to 64,000 and it's not really able to get back above and hold any sort of, consistent breakout, we're going to be looking at something like a lower low. Because keep in mind, guys, that us breaking down from this level and then us consolidating back below, it's going to be looking like not only have we broken back down and rejected from the prior all-time highs being the 69,000 level, but if we're unable to get back above the 66,000, then this is going to be looking like resistance and we could be getting in for a much lower drop all the way back down to these range lows again. And the thing is, when we're looking at this price action for Bitcoin, I think it's very important that we understand the potential that this thing could correct back down here. We might just spend a lot of time consolidating before we actually get that breakout. We might trend sideways for another month, maybe a month and a half before we get that breakout. This is just consolidation. And so even if we're rejecting down here on the shorter time frames and we're pulling back down from that $69,000 level, I don't think it really changes anything. All this is a higher time frame consolidation. As you guys can tell, it's chopping the ever-living crap out of everybody. We're having these drops followed by these instant swings back up to the range highs. Same thing here, same thing here. This one came all the way back up to the range highs. So if for us to come back down and consolidate right to this mid-range point, get us a little bit further consolidation of us just going sideways, I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see that. What it does remind me of as far as price action goes, so in our last cycle, we followed a rough, similarity in structure, I guess you could say, where you're pretty much just looking at some type of triangle consolidation. And to me, it's, not entirely perfect, but it is a lot of the same similarities. And this is more along the lines of what I'm talking about, what I think is going to end up happening. Everybody's getting so damn chopped up inside of these shorter time frames, worried so much about catching the exact bottom before price discovery, when in actuality, don't be surprised if this thing just kind of chops around for a couple more months before we finally get that breakout. I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see that because we had such a big move, fueled by the ETF volume, all of the new demand, seeing us kind of cool off here at these prior all-time highs, giving us one more month, if we pull up a date time tool. From where we're at right now, I would personally be looking at about another 30 days to 45 days. I'm not really anticipating we'd be coming all the way out here for 100, right? I think this is going to be a little bit of a shorter consolidation, something more along the lines of this before we get that breakout. But it does look like that's going to be the case. When we come over here and look at Ethereum, it's already had this big breakout coming in fueled by the ETF news. Now, is this only going to be the short-term breakout that was only fueled by the ETF before this thing kind of drops back down? I'm not really sure what's going to happen. But the thing is, as of now, we are sitting on top of this prior level, the prior resistance at 3,700 as support. So as long as we hold this level, we got to assume that this is going to end up just getting, bought up, and we're going to get continuation from this trend. However, if we're looking at Bitcoin, potentially making, you know, a little drop back down to this mid-range and then trending sideways for a little bit. You know, don't be surprised if Ethereum kind of rejected off of this level and did something like this. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see something along the same events. You know, Ethereum in and of itself, I think, is at that point of reversing. Now, when we come over here and look at the ETH BTC pair, we know that this thing is not going to be seeing, we know that altcoins as a whole are not going to be breaking out until this breaks out. And we're still below resistance. We got this big move. We got a big green candle, bullish engulfing candle, but we're still technically below that resistance. We're also still technically below our log descending resistance. If you're looking at linear or logarithmic, both of them are going to end up being the same. We're still consolidating below resistance. And so if we're looking at ETH BTC still just kind of coiling, I think that once this breaks out, that's where we're going to start to see that money shift. And it might only be until we get to the end of this triangle. Once we're finishing out this consolidation here, just trending sideways, it might take us all the way until that point before we finally start to see that money shift. Seeing Ethereum just having this big breakout, a lot of that is just buy the rumor, sell the news. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing kind of a pullback from this level, but it's really going to factor around what happens with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just consolidating right at these prior all-time highs. I'm not anticipating Bitcoin to make a lower low. I honestly just think that Bitcoin in and of itself is going to just be kind of sideways correcting until we make that next leg up. And with Ethereum, it's going to just follow Bitcoin. If Bitcoin ends up selling back to the mid-range, Ethereum is going to do the same thing. I would personally be looking at about 3,200 per ETH. I'm not anticipating that we go lower than this base support. There's going to be plenty of people looking to buy Ethereum with the ETF news. We got to remember that with Bitcoin leading into this ETF. Now, when we saw the Bitcoin ETF get approved, it was right here. We made a false breakout of our range high, we pulled back within, and then we ended up coming all the way back for this final sort of sell-off to complete that. Now, obviously, the Bitcoin price went into a brand new all-time high. We made this big move. So when we're looking at Ethereum today, and we're zooming out and we're seeing it kind of just still below those prior all-time highs, just in this consolidation, I don't know how the price action is going to work in the shorter time frames. Is this going to be a little bit more of a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event? I don't think that we go for a lower low like this before going up. That to me is just a little bit too bearish. However, for us to come back down to this mid-range, you know, come back down to 3,200 before that next leg up, that's not going to be surprising to me at all. So I just think that we need to be aware of these things, watching with Bitcoin, watching what it does as we're losing the $69,000 level. Don't be surprised if we spend about another month, you know, just kind of trending sideways here before we get that breakout. The volatility should die out at the latter end of this correction as everybody kind of capitulates and gives up. That'll be the moment where we start to get that flippening where Bitcoin goes into new all-time highs. Now, guys, for the rest of this video, I wanted to go through and just take a look, popcorn style, look at the different altcoins in the market, analyze their charts, because there's so many altcoins I don't get to cover every single week on my channel. A lot of you guys have questions. Today's just a good opportunity. That is, we're seeing the markets pulling back. We're looking at the consolidation. I wanted to go through and just look at some of the top projects. What do their charts look like? Could we see them do something different? Do they look a little bit more bullish than maybe the Bitcoin and ETH? Or do they look a little bit more bearish, like they're going to be telling a bigger picture conclusion that's going to unfold? I don't know, but I wanted to start out by going through some of these. And the first one we're going to start off today is Binance Coin. The reason we're starting with Binance Coin is because it's really showed some of the most strength in the market, even compared to like Solana and Ethereum. It's always done really, really well, and it's a staple inside of the market. Now, the thing I've noticed about Binance Coin is we're making this type of what I guess you could say a ascending triangle formation, and we're consolidating right under these prior all-time highs. Generally, when you're going to see this type of consolidation play out, usually it's going to be bullish before a breakout into new all-time highs. However, the closer that the closer that an ascending triangle coils to the apex of that triangle, the weaker that the pattern actually gets. We can look at a couple different things. We do have some hidden bullish divergence that's forming. Notice how we have 3 lower lows on the RSI right here, yet we have consistent higher highs in price. That's what's called hidden bullish divergence. So yeah, we're seeing a pullback in here, and you know, we're looking like we're getting a couple rejection candles up here at the top. We're going to see how this unfolds, but if we were to lose this, you know, we reject, do something like this, then at that point I think we would make a bigger correction down to like 450. But if we're not going to be losing this support and we're just going to be kind of coiling up here alongside Bitcoin, I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see this thing end up just breaking out. You know, making one final correction, make a big breakout, consolidate back down before we get new all-time highs. For me, when you're looking at the staples in the market, generally looking more bullish than anything, like this is a lot more of a bullish setup than I would say a bearish one, although it is possible that we could lose this and reject. But that's really going to be riding around what happens with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin making one small little low down in here probably won't break down the entirety of this consolidation, but we're going to watch and see. The big thing that I'm paying attention for, if we saw a deeper correction, this would be across the board, and it would be something like this. Some type of A, B, and a C back down. A, B, and C before we started that next leg up. This is the only bearish scenario that I really see playing out. We're either just going to make one more lower low before that new move comes, or we're going to be breaking out of it in this consolidation that we're at right now. I don't 100% know, but we can zoom out to the higher time frames, and I really like the price action of Binance Coin because historically speaking, it's been a leader, right? Now, the thing I love about Binance Coin, this was our first cycle here. Wave 1 and a wave 2. And then this is our second cycle. We saw wave 1, we saw wave 3, this was a wave 4, and I believe that we're getting ready for a bigger picture wave 5, and that's kind of what this cycle is going to be. We've already finished a wave 1, we've already finished a wave 3. I think that this entire move, wave 1, wave 3, and then wave 5 will be this next cycle. And so big picture, we know that we have plenty of new all-time highs coming. You know, we could easily see Binance Coin sitting at $1,000 to even $2,000 in this next cycle. I'm not going to be surprised to see that. If we're looking at the staples of the market showing a lot of strength, you know, Binance Coin is just consolidating right under those prior all-time highs. Chances are that's going to break out. I mean, that's just my belief. I don't find it as likely. I don't find it as likely that this would just break down, but it is possible. You know, we can come through some other altcoins like Solana, and we can see a lot of the same similarities. Solana has been leading the market to the biggest extent. Solana has been leading the market in comparison with all of the other cryptos. It's had a massive move to start this cycle. And as it stands, you know, when I look at Binance and when I look at Solana, I see a little bit of a difference, right? Now, when I look at Solana, I think that we finish wave 1 and we finish wave 3 and we're inside of wave 4. You know, this could be the completion of wave 4 before we get that next high, or maybe wave 4 actually drops back down to about $80. We don't know for sure yet, but I will say that I think that this thing is definitely going into new all-time highs. I don't see anything that's telling me it's bearish. I just think that we're in the early stages of our impulse. Now, we finished wave 3 and that was right here. Wave 1, wave 3 of 3, and then wave 5 of 3. I believe that this was the completion of our wave 3 impulse. Now the question now comes, was this our ABC back down, or are we going to have a little bit of a bigger one? A, B, and C is going to be taking us all the way back down in here. I don't for sure know yet, but I will say that either scenario is plausible. Inside of a wave 3, oftentimes they bottom at the 382, sometimes they come to the 618. Notice how we have bottomed at the 382 right now, so the potential is there that the bottom's already in. When we look at other altcoins like Binance Coin and seeing that it looks really bullish at those prior all-time highs, you know, maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum look a little bit more sketchy. Maybe it looks like they need to come back down and consolidate a little bit longer. But when we're looking at other markets showing a lot of strength, it gives us encouragement as far as what can happen from here. You know, if we were to see Bitcoin and Ethereum actually bottom relatively soon and start that next leg up, I don't see a scenario where, you know, Solana makes this big lower low. The thing we're going to be watching for with Solana is going to be this level that we're consolidating on as support, being $160. As long as we're above this level, I think that we're going to see continuation. If the market was to drop back down and reject below this, then we really could be seeing a much bigger correction unfold, and this really could be a wave A before we see a deeper wave B or a wave C all the way back down to like $80. This would be the bearish scenario that would play out for Solana. However, if we're just going to sit here and hold support above this $160 region, then at the end of the day, we've already finished wave 4's ABC right down in here. And all we're going to be doing right now is pretty much just 1, 2, 3, 4, and getting that next big impulse into price discovery. So I see either scenario, but it's all going to be, it's all really revolving around this $160 level. You know, if Bitcoin shows a lot of weakness here, it starts dropping heavy with Ethereum, then I think Solana is going to lose that support, and we could be looking for a deeper correction to ensue. Now, coming over here and looking at XRP, this is another one of those staples in the market. I think it's really solid to look at because this thing is pretty much just consolidated right back down to that same trending support that we've had for a while. And so when I'm looking at XRP, it's basically just sitting right here on this trend line. Do I think it's going to lose this trend line? I don't. If it were to lose this trend line, it would just look really sketchy, although it is possible. I just think that with us sitting on this trend line, we're looking at a few different points of interest. Solana looks like it could be done with this correction. If we were to hold this $160 region, it does look like that next impulse is starting. When we're looking at Binance Coin, it's just making this ascending triangle right below those prior all-time highs. And so coming into XRP sitting right on this trend line, and most recently, this big capitulation that we saw was just us retesting it. I think that there's more reason to be bullish than bearish. You don't want to be selling at the trend line, the long-term trend line that we've been holding for over a year and a half straight. I think that it's better off that we hold these times and look to be buying, because, we're sitting 714 days that we've just been uptrending off of this trend line. I don't think that the time to be bearish is now that we're retesting it. I don't think that the time to be bearish is now that we're sitting on top of support. I don't think the time to be bearish is when we're showing up all of these different bullish consolidation patterns. It just, to me, lines up that we're looking at a little bit more of bullish price action than we are bearish. Now, coming over here and looking at Dogecoin, Dogecoin is going to be another one of those staples inside of the market. And I do actually see the potential that this makes another correction. The problem I'm seeing is we're seeing too many meme coins blowing up, right? For example, we can come over here and look at SHIB. Shiba Inu looks really solid. It's actually getting a buyback today. So even though Dogecoin might look a little bit bearish, Shiba is actually starting to break out. It looks a little solid. It's doing the same thing that Dogecoin is, breaking out of these prior bear market bottoms, and we're just retesting them as new support. So when I come over and look at Dogecoin, all we've done is, pretty much the same thing. We're just consolidating at that same sort of accumulation range. This was our bear market bottom. Consolidating on it, we broke above, and we're just sitting on it as support. We can see right here, this was our bear market bottom. We've broken from that. We've retested that. So generally speaking, do you want to be bearish on the support level of a breakout, or would you rather be bullish? To me, it makes more sense to be bullish, just simply speaking. I mean, when we're looking at all of these cryptos breaking out and looking more bullish than bearish, yes, it's always a potential that we could pull back. There's always a potential of a lower low. Maybe some bearish news comes out, maybe there's some war, anything can happen, and we can see the prices of crypto drop. So there is the potential that these make one more sell-off when Bitcoin and the rest of the market, being Ethereum, kind of does the same thing. However, in the shorter time frames, ETH is still sitting on support. If we lose this support, then yeah, we could be looking at a little bit of a bigger drop in some of these markets. But all of the main markets that we're looking at here have pretty much just flipped their breakout points. I've shared with you guys this chart a lot, being the Dogecoin fractal, because I think it's really important that when we're zooming out on the long-term basis, every single time the Dogecoin starts breaking out of its accumulation, right? Accumulation here. Once it breaks out of that level and flips it to support, it's the exact moment that Bitcoin's going into price discovery. So when we're looking at Bitcoin, being right at those prior all-time highs once again, Dogecoin sitting right on top of its accumulation range as new support. I mean, all of the same parallels are lining up that we're just going to see the same sort of thing play out once more. Toncoin, we can come over here and look at this. Another one of the top cryptos that's recently came out and started taking off in a big way. Toncoin is literally just sitting in a price discovery right now. We've broken out. This, to me, looks a little bit more bullish than anything. Yeah, it's possible that if ETH loses support, this thing would do the same thing. But regardless of that, this to me just looks like bullish consolidation after a breakout. It doesn't really look bearish by any means. We can come over, we can look at Cardano. With Cardano, we can come over here and see a lot of the same conclusions. Now, with this one, a lot of these different markets, they made these 3 lower lows, or 2 lower lows, I guess you could say, this Wyckoff accumulation. This is a Wyckoff. We broke out. And so if you guys don't understand Wyckoffs, I'll share with you guys the exact chart. So this is an example of a Wyckoff, and we can see that we pretty much just did this exact sort of formula where we make a low, low, third lower low, 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 third lower low. The third one acts as the spring-loaded bounce for the breakout. And then the breakout flips the range high. That's what happens here. So all we're doing is consolidating after the breakout of this Wyckoff. So historically speaking, if we're just sitting right here at this range of a breakout, why wouldn't it hold? I mean, I just see more reasons to be bullish personally. Yes, with this impulse, we saw 5 waves up, and we could still see a further correction. To me, this looks like an ABC back down. It looks like we've already finished that wave C, but there is the potential this is an extended wave C, and we just come back down to basically 35 cents. The only scenario that I see here is we're either just making one more small lower low before we start bottoming and going back up, or we're already bottomed here and we're just about to start going back up. Those are the two scenarios I see, and it's really revolving around what Bitcoin is doing up here at these higher levels in price, right? If Bitcoin were to come back down to 64, consolidate sideways, ETH was to come back down, kind of do the same thing, maybe get back down to about $3,200, then at that point, we're going to see one more low on some of these altcoins. For example, like Cardano, I think it would make one more low like this before we started breaking out. But, you know, for the biggest majority of these altcoins, they're not really going to be making that big of drops. For XRP, you know, some of these other altcoins I just talked about, maybe they come back down and retest this trend line once again. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Maybe with Solana, you know, we lose this level, we come back down, we make one big drop before we come back up again. That would be the bearish scenario for SOL. But, you know, as long as we're holding above these support levels, this thing just keeps breaking out and making higher highs and higher lows. So I think that the best scenario is obviously to hold the trend. If we're seeing the trend being this bullish, we're seeing a lot of these different altcoins breaking out, showing a lot of the same sort of accumulation structures that we have in years past. You know, a lot of them sitting on these support levels, some of them looking even more bullish at prior all-time high levels. I just see a lot of reason to be bullish, guys. I just see more reason to be bullish personally. You know, Link has been one that's been breaking out pretty extensively over the last couple days. And, you know, it looks really, really bullish right now. As the market's pulling back, Chainlink's breaking out. I made an update over here talking about Chainlink when we were just retesting the support. Because the main thing I was looking at with Chainlink, we had just broken from this massive accumulation range, right? This was our range of the bear market, back down in here. We coiled, and then when we made our first breakout, this was the first level of support that we flipped, right? We flipped this level, taking us all the way back into that last cycle. We reclaimed it as support here and here. That took us into that next leg up. And then all we ended up seeing was your standard ABC correction with wave C landing right smack down onto support. So us getting this buyback, you know, it's not surprising to me. I figured that this is what was going to happen. So when we're looking at these other altcoins, you know, just higher highs, higher lows, looking more bullish than anything. Even if a correction happens in Bitcoin, we come back down to this level. Even if we have a little bit more downside play out inside of Ethereum, I'm not getting shaken out. I don't think that we're making big lower lows or anything. I don't think that there's some massive crash coming by any means. I just think that this would give us another opportunity, maybe getting back in at the mid-range point if you weren't buying back down in here and you kind of missed this breakout. There's still a lot of opportunity. When I look and see all these cryptos, you know, looking a lot more bullish than anything, it gives me a lot of confidence as far as what is going to be happening for our cycle. So anyways, guys, I wanted to break down all the charts, explain exactly why I think that we're looking a little bit more bullish than anything else, why this is most likely just going to be the last consolidation, maybe that last sort of correction that we get before new all-time highs. And there's going to be a lot more profit to be made here, guys. I want you guys to just be aware, not being, you know, freaked out or shaken out by anybody and all of the FUD that we're seeing in the market. Because at the end of the day, a lot of altcoins are holding support, looking bullish, and we got to continue to hold that trend until proven otherwise. So I'll keep you guys updated. If you found value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe into this channel. If you guys do want to see anything I'm doing with my portfolio long-term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Buying, selling, trading, where I take profits, all of that stuff gets posted inside of my private group. So check it out. Links are in the description. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.